name is Maya. I've been struggling. Okay, I've been remaking this video, trying to talk about this over and over again, and why it is that I have an unconventional sort of viewpoint on mental health. And I'm here to express my viewpoints because it has remained with me for a long, long time, and I'm quite passionate about it. And at the same time, I know because it is not a conventional viewpoint about a subject like mental health, which can be quite sensitive because it is people's mental healths. All right, of course, it's going to be a little bit sensitive, and it's perfectly understandable. Because it's unconventional in this fragile aspect of our society, I'd say, people might get offended, and that's all right. Comment section is open for everybody's opinion, honestly. And just as I'm going to do my best to be as respectful as I can in sharing my opinion, I ask you to do the same, but you're free to do so in the comment section, okay? I want more conversation in this direction on the topic of mental health. There are noises in the background, and that's what they're going to be. People are doing stuff in their yards, airplanes flying by, and I'm still recording this video outside because I like it out here. I do. So this is my natural environment right now, and you're part of it. And sometimes there's sounds that you don't want them there to be, but here it is, and I'm accepting it. So let's start like this. I went to college for psychology and creative writing, and I went into it, I feel like just like anybody. By the way, I'm 2 years out of college, so I went into it just like anybody, really. Or, most people, I think, go into psychology because they're curious about the human mind and they hope to learn more about the human mind. And when I went into psychology, into all these college classes, I was quite disillusioned, let's say. I was disillusioned by, honestly, the lack of novelty. The human mind is something that is very intimate to us. I mean, it's right here. It's right here. Right here. It's like quite an intimate subject that I felt college did not do justice in having us explore. Instead, what college provided was definitions, some pattern recognitions of certain things, definitions, and labels of things people experience. It just provided a description of experiences that felt quite obvious in certain ways, obvious things that happen socially and psychologically. Just if you were somebody that's observant, you would have already known. It felt like a bunch of repeating of the same stuff that wasn't new to me and stuff that was an exploration. And so I felt quite just not very excited about this whole college thing. So my abnormal psychology class particularly disappointed me because as somebody that would, sometimes take days off school to go to an ayahuasca retreat because that was really more exciting to me, more felt like an exploration of whatever you want to call it, the mind, the subconscious, the spirit realm, all those dimensions at once, That was my direct way of experiencing and processing and, diving into myself, really, that I felt like I didn't get in school. But yeah, in this abnormal psychology class, they talked about the depersonalization, all the disorders, all the bipolar, etc., multiple personality, and depersonalization, right? Where somebody doesn't know what's real, doesn't know if they exist, doesn't, all those things, and they just called it a disorder. Anyway, they term all these experiences as just a disorder. And if you've at all dived into it and considered spiritual experience and considered, the unfolding of the self and Carl Jung, individuation, any of these things, then you'd probably find that in different tribes, different traditions, different ancestral, things, tribes, places, people, they really viewed these experiences as the unfolding of somebody's soul, the unfolding of somebody's maybe spirituality, maybe spiritual gifts, maybe spiritual seeing. But here in the mental health system of modern society, we view it as a disorder. We view it as you shouldn't be experiencing that, and we're going to medicate you. And I recently, okay, I have to tell you guys, because this movie, this series on Netflix is absolutely incredible. And it's related, okay, I promise. It's called DOA by the Britt Marling. Okay, Britt Marling, I'm completely obsessed with her. She's the actor and also the screenwriter for this movie and other movies. And she's just absolutely incredible. I absolutely love her. She also made Another Earth, which I watched years ago and was amazed by it. So if you like any of these concepts I'm talking about and anything spiritual, anything multidimensional, anything like that, I mean, Britt Marling movies, you guys, I cannot. Because in the movie The OA, she was experiencing near-death experiences and also multidimensional travel, which I know is like a super out there concept. And I know it's like super kind of far away from what I'm talking about now, but she was talking about multidimensional travel and really seeing other planes of reality, et cetera, et cetera. And her adoptive parents, which really loved her, they medicated her for years and years and years, really numbing her senses because she sounded out of this world, out of her right mind, out of what is normal for this world, right? So these experiences are reflected in media as well. Britt Marling movies, guys, Britt Marling, oh my God. Oh my God. I'm so obsessed. Do you see how obsessed I am? And yeah, you can imagine that for somebody like me that was super at the time in college, very super into exploring the mind and these other realms and just existence and all of this through psychedelics, plant medicines. This really didn't jive with me. Didn't jive with me as a way of psychology, mental health, treating it. And really, what my main point I want to make in this video, if you're still with me, if you're still with me, then you're with me, my main point here is that while, yes, the mental health world has become more mainstream, we have all these different terms and labels that we can use for internal experiences so that, for the hope that other people can better understand us, for the hope of really better understanding of and to bring more love and compassion to the world. I mean, really, I think that's the point of it, and that's what really people want out of it, is to be like, hey, I have this thing I'm dealing with inside, and now I have a language for it, and now, I don't feel so alone, and there can be communities made around this, which I think is so great. I think that's such a great thing of this whole mental health boom of, I mean, there is a mental health boom now. Everybody is aware of what ADHD is, of what OCD is, of what this anxiety disorders are. People are more aware and understanding of it, which is really, really great. And I'm going to emphasize that, And at the same time, when we're having this great boom of awareness towards these mental health misalignments, I'd rather call them misalignments. You'll see why in a second. At the same time this is happening, I see people from my personal life, from being on social media, again and again, examples of people that take this label of OCD, anxiety, ADHD, whatnot, and make a identity out of it. And again, I understand identity and belonging and community is a big part of being a human in a society. But at the same time, what I want you to consider and just think about, and maybe you totally think I'm wrong and that's completely fine, is that when, for example, I experience obsessive compulsivity, okay? I experience OCD. I have this OCD pattern, compulsion in my brain. I do not identify as an OCD person. And there's the difference here. I see people over and over again taking in these diagnoses as, there is something just majorly disordered with me here, and I will probably keep getting worse and worse because it's just like a major core disorder in me, and I need these medications and I need to be medicated for the rest of my life. Or this thing is going to just keep getting worse and worse. And I've heard this one girl on Instagram say that she has like autism, OCD. I think she has like a couple of those things. And she said, just to know that for the rest of my life, I'm going to be suffering, and I can't get out of this. I mean, somebody that goes to a therapist and has been going to a therapist for years, I'm assuming, is thinking this about themselves. Because to me, that sounds like just straight disempowerment. To me, that sounds like boxing yourself into a thing that you're going to be inside forever. Now, when I talk about this, I'm not saying all therapists are like this. I'm saying like this is a generality about the mental health system. I'm sure there are therapists out there that really are devoted to bringing you back to yourself and really devoted to helping you overcome, and befriend yourself, really, and love yourself. And I know that's out there, okay? So this is not about all therapists, okay? Don't take it this way. This is about my, experience of the world, of the mental health world, of what I hear people talking about, and of what really is important to me, of what I really value is people finding empowerment within themselves, is finding love within themselves. A way I would like to see this be reframed is like, hey, I notice I have this OCD pattern. And I'm speaking for myself because I do have an OCD pattern I've had since I was very, very little. I had multiple misalignments. And it's to say like, hey, I notice I have this misalignment within myself that really like steals my energy. For example, I'm talking about things like anxiety or depression or OCD. I'm talking about things like this right now. It's like I'm noticing this thing that really takes my energy away, that really like wants to take my attention, swallow it whole, and take it off with it and create this whole experience of the world for me. This is how I experience my compulsions. And I write Substack articles about this all the time and my processing through it and everything like that. So it's like, hey, it's a pattern I experience in myself. And I'm working with it and I'm learning how to navigate it. And therapists can do this with you as well. They can help you navigate it. But I think the ultimate thing to know is that you're the one that's navigating it. You're the one that's befriending, that's loving, that's taking ownership of where your attention goes. And that and you do not have to keep feeding this thing in your brain. For example, if it is OCD, something like OCD or anxiety, you don't have to keep feeding this patterning in your head. You can notice it. And this is what Thorald Koren from the Koren brothers, he has this thing called the Crazy Club he holds every month, and he has experienced major OCD. So it's somebody I would like to listen to because he's experienced it. He's been through it. He's found ways within himself to regulate himself and to not, put his energy over and over again in these same patterns and doing the same things. He said to treat the anxiety or the OCD as like a friend, to befriend it, to let it be there while choosing not to follow it because from experience, following it has led to pain, to let it know that it can be there and that it's going to be okay. And this without the intention of having it disappear and creating more fighting within yourself. It's this ownership of your attention, it's this ownership of your experience. Is to acknowledge a part of yourself that is anxious or is wanting to have a compulsion, and to know that following it leads to nothing but pain, and then to bring yourself back to yourself and where you actually want to go, to choose your own direction within your attention, within your thoughts, within all of this. Again, that's from Thorald Koren. And what I really want to see more of within, the talk about mental health is it bringing back ourselves to empowerment rather than thinking that there's just something inherently wrong with us. And again, I'm not saying therapists are trying to tell you what's wrong, that there's something inherently wrong with you. But perhaps something about the system is just not quite calibrated in a way to bring you back to yourself. To bring you, because, one thing I want to say is that just to hear a word like a disorder, like a mental health illness, can make a person believe that they cannot trust themselves. And when you feel like you can't trust yourself at all, and that trust is not going to be built back up possibly, or is really hard to be built back up, or you just simply can't trust yourself, is going to create a dependence on other people. You're going to put your authority into your mental authority, your authority over yourself. You're going to give that over to somebody else. And I think in cases where people really cannot function, and I mean cannot function in life at all, because a huge schizophrenia thing has taken them over, that person does need help, and that person does need maybe to be hospitalized, and to be brought back to themselves in a safe container. But what I see happening is people giving over the authority of their own minds, to other people, to the system, telling them what they are. And the thing is, if you're sitting here, and I don't know, you probably wouldn't be watching this video, but possibly if you're sitting here and you're like, oh, I don't have any mental disorders or things or misalignments at all, then unless you're enlightened, then you probably do. And this is what Ram Dass calls them the neuroses. Everybody's a neurotic in one way or another. And he said something similar to what Thorald said. He said his neuroses, he didn't eliminate them. They come back, they rise up sometimes. And all he does when he sees them is say, oh, look, there it is again, an old friend. And that's it. Just an acknowledgement and a letting go. And when he says neuroses, what Ram Dass means is a hyperfixation on, oh, my hair, or oh, my aging skin, or oh, my body part isn't big or small enough, or you're just hyperfixating and noticing these things in the world around you that you think is wrong with yourself. Oftentimes that's what happens. Or, oh, I'm not successful enough, or, oh, I really want all these really fancy pieces of jewelry or luxury, and then you start focusing on who's poor and who's rich around you, and that's the lens through which you see the world. And that's a neuroses, because you're contracting your energy, and your energy ain't free. So yeah, that's really, really all I've been trying to say, is just to reflect on how you're relating to your own mental health yourself. And if you're finding yourself empowering yourself or disempowering yourself into somebody that's just has something wrong with them and is disordered and needs to accept that this will be their life forever, and they're just gonna not get better, or they're gonna need to rely on these things outside of themselves, pills for the rest of their life to feel okay with themselves. That's disempowering perspective. That's just what it is. And I'm sure there's cases that can be exclusions. I never want to speak in this is what it is for everything, because there's always exclusions to things, okay? But yeah, I think I'm going to wrap this video up. This is what I really wanted to say. And even with myself during making this video, what I experienced, for example, are little hyperfixations, oh, is the is the thing focused, or is the light really bad, or the sound, or oh my gosh, all these things that can go wrong. And it's the little hyperfixation of perfectionism, and it's just oh, noticing it rather than letting it completely suck me in, or then noticing when it does completely suck me in, and then just coming back to myself and coming back to myself and coming back to myself, and this whole thing is about coming back to yourself. Because truly, that's where the wisdom is. Truly, when you let yourself relax and regulate into yourself, that's where the wisdom is. And for me to share this opinion that I feel will rub some people the wrong way is an example of me returning to myself. Because, yeah, I have to accept that I do have unconventional opinions and unconventional perspectives, and people aren't going to like some of them. And, I'm doing my best to communicate respectfully, but there's going to be still ways I say things that aren't going to mishmash with some people. And, that's okay. And that's okay. If you like to follow me, follow me. I've been writing a little bit on Substack, more about my internal processings of things. If you are interested in that or want to relate, want to share your own way that you process the world, your mind, and navigations in this world, that'll be fun. That's what I like to share. And, I say explore your own navigations of the world, your own unique way of navigating through the world, not just what somebody told you, but of course still be open to taking in things that are, you feel like are helpful. And there's absolutely a lot of tools and techniques that are helpful from, therapists. And I'm not saying to disregard that. I'm just saying you're the one that intimately knows yourself here. You're the one that's here. Nobody else can be here. And I think it's important to consider that if somebody hasn't, experienced a certain thing you're experiencing before, they can be of help, but ultimately you're the one that guides yourself through it ultimately, and you're the one that knows yourself best. Nobody else out there, no matter how much they've studied, which, there is great wisdom in, studying people and et cetera, and how they function. I'm not trying to disregard that. It's just like the power over your mind. Well, I don't want to say power over your mind, but the power is in you. The authority is in you in regards to yourself, and something as precious as your mind. Something as precious as your soul, as whatever you believe, as as who you are, as who you uniquely are, because there's going to be times where you're going to have to step out on your own as an individual and be uniquely who you are, and you might not get permission to do that from even your therapist if you go to a therapist. Maybe your therapist won't agree with you, but you got to trust your own self. And I said misalignments as something I prefer to disorders or mental illnesses because, it's just a little misalignment. It's just a misalignment of your energy that's going outside of yourself, like compulsion, neurosis, overconsumption, anxiety, trying to control external factors, things trying to go outside of yourself, and it's like a misalignment from yourself, from being centered and grounded within yourself, and there's there are different ways of looking at mental health. There are different ways, so many different ways you can look at your mental health and your mind that are not all represented in the mainstream mental health system, and so this is a video just to perhaps open your mind up, if you want to call it that, to a different perspective. I'm gonna stop over explaining myself. I do that sometimes. That's all right. So peace out and enjoy, really.